Hello everyone, it's Puretsu Pizza Power here with another edition 6 actually, of WCW 1992 Dangerous Days. And we are hot off of Clash of the Champions 18, and we are well full speed on the road now to Super Brawl 2, which is only 19 days away, and that will be, fingers tightly crossed, headlined by the total package Lex Luger as he defends the WCW World Heavyweight Championship against Sting. And of course I say fingers tightly crossed regarding that match because Lex Luger is not a happy man, he's a very angry man, and he's confirmed to be leaving us already, but we don't want him walking before he does business for us. We want him appearing at Super Brawl. We want him to be defending that championship. So that's why I say fingers tightly crossed regarding Mr. Luger. And I want to take this time right now, as we are coming off of a big show and we start the road to a bigger show, that being Super Brawl 2. I want to take this time, 6 episodes in, to just thank everybody who has given this little thing of mine positive feedback. Just thank you for all of the positivity and the constructive criticism. And it's all appreciated, whether it's just a comment or it's a subscription or it's what you've said on Facebook, YouTube, or even if it's just watching the videos. Just thank you for taking the time out of your life to just give this a go. And I value all of your opinions because even though I'm no stranger to doing booking, I am very new to doing it in a video format like this, so I'm very much learning on the fly as I go along. And I just want to say I value everyone who's been along for the ride so far. And I just want to also acknowledge comments that have been left by Anthony Johnson 4390. I just want to thank you for your support. And in one of your comments, you did say that you want to have a look at free agents that are out there and also to have a look at some of the smaller promotions. That is something that we are going to do starting now. And also I want to say that at the beginning of every fresh month on this save, so the first time we do it, it will be February, I want to have a look at what's going on in the big companies too, like WWF for example. I want to see who's feuding with who, I want to see who's holding what titles, and we'll do the same for New Japan and All Japan, just so we are not completely zone focused on what we're doing, so we lose track of what's going on in the wider wrestling world, because ultimately what happens in the wider wrestling world does have an impact on us. We need to keep tabs on what's going on just outside of our bubble. So right now we're going to have a look at our partner promotions in the alliance we are within, and that's the National Wrestling Alliance. So we're going to look at the youngest member of the alliance so far. They've only just started booking shows this month, and that is Eastern Championship Wrestling in the Tri-State out in Philadelphia. So ECW, they formed a little earlier in this save than they did in reality, owned by Todd Gordon. So doing a tour of the company, their top guy is currently Ivan Koloff, who is one of my favourites. Even at this stage in his career, I think Ivan Koloff was so charismatic. Big fan of Ivan Koloff. Whether we bring him into WCW at this point, not sure, never say never, but big fan of the guy. And we also have the clean-cut surfing dude, Mr. Sandman, who would never touch alcohol or cigarettes, never. And they have King Kahula, who is he's the inaugural ECW World Television Champion, and they have a rookie in JT Smith and Salvatore Bellomo as well. Having a quick look at King Kahula, let's have a look at his stats. He's 33, star quality is not great. Don't know if he's a guy we'll ever bring in. Mr. Sandman though, watch this space, he is a possibility. And let's have a look. ECW, they have ran at least one show. Yet they've done one show as of now, and that was headlined by King Kahula defeating Johnny Hotbody for the ECW World Television title. But the match of the show was a 44, with the Pitbulls becoming the first ECW World Tag Team Champions, defeating the Super Destroyers. The Pitbulls comprised of Anthony Durante and Gary Wolfe, and these are two guys that we will watch how they develop but they've got some decent stats across the board, especially at the ages that they're at as well. Only in their mid-20s. So yeah, this is a team we could potentially bring into WCW one day. Watch this space there. And having a look at other companies in the alliance, we've got two ladies promotions. First of all, LMLW, the Ladies Major League Wrestling. So we already have their figurehead who's recently signed with us, and that's Wendy Richter. But when we are establishing a women's division, which is not a matter of if, it's when, we can definitely look to this roster, because there are definitely some good hands. I mean, we've got Rockin' Robin, who she's still only 27 here. She's already had time in the big league. She's a former WWF Women's Champion. She is the current LMLW International Champion. So Rockin' Robin is definitely someone to consider. And, you know, you've got great hands like Alani Kai as well. But a name that really jumps out at me here is Tina Moretti. So Tina Moretti, she would be fresh off her time in Glow at this point, and in reality, obviously, she went on to become Ivory. But Tina Moretti has some great stats there, so she is definitely a name that would be nice to include in a women's division. And then Luna Vachon, do I need to say any more about Luna? How can you overlook Luna? And you have Maria Hosaka. She's someone that could definitely do some interesting work for us. And you also have one of the Glamour Girls, going back to the 80s, you have Judy Martin there. So they've got some interesting names on that roster for sure. And looking at the other women's promotion in the Alliance, the Ladies Pro Wrestling Association, I would imagine they share a lot of the same names, but you also have Candy Devine and Susan Sexton as stars. So Candy Devine, she's 33, and let's have a look at her skills. She's got some good stats. That's a high star quality, really, 67. She's definitely somebody that we would look at. And Susan Sexton, a little bit older, but again, she is somebody that's got some decent stats across the board. So, as you can see, just having a run down the rosters of these two promotions, there is definitely legs for building a decent women's division, and that's just looking at the American companies. We haven't even looked at the Joshi companies yet, so we could definitely build a very good women's division when the time is right for us to do so. And we will have a look at NWA New Zealand. NWA New Zealand is not a promotion I know much about. I had a quick look at them before pressing record. Interesting that their major star is their owner and booker, Steve Rickard, and he is getting up there in years. He is 62 and he's retired, but he must appear on screen a fair bit, because he's the major star, and he's followed by Bruno Becker, who is the current NWA New Zealand Heavyweight Champion, and he's 48. So they've got an aging roster here, though they have got some names for the future. I see Jeff Jarrett, who is definitely somebody we will be looking at as time goes on. And then they've got some older hands like Bob Orton Jr., who is somebody that we could definitely still do something with. He's only 41. And then I see one half of the Headhunters, who are a team of wild brawlers along him and Headhunter B. They are currently doing some stuff overseas in Wing, but these are two guys that, when the time is right, the right storyline, never going to look past potentially bringing them into WCW. So definitely have eyes on the Headhunters. And is Johnny the Body on this roster? Because I know Johnny the Body is on one of these rosters of one of our partners, because he's a guy that we've just introduced. He's probably in Pacific Northwest, the other one. So yes, Pacific Northwest, we'll have a look at them there. Tiny promotion, 28th in the world. They've got major stars like the Honky Tonk Man. Not someone that I envision bringing in to WCW, at least not in the near future. Yeah, they've got Scotty the Body, who is Scotty Flamingo to us. And they've also got Shane Douglas. So Shane Douglas, someone that we could potentially bring in to WCW. I think there's a high likelihood we would. And we would also look at somebody like Demolition Crush, but unfortunately he's wrapping up with promotions like PNW because he is written contract to the WWF. So we won't be able to bring him in anytime in the near future. So finally, we have a look at New Japan Pro Wrestling. So New Japan, as of now, they've only ran one show, and that was Wrestling World, which we did do an overview of on a prior episode. But just a quick recap: Tatsumi Fujinami is the current IWGP Heavyweight Champion, and Big Van Vader, who is one of our guys, he defeated Masa Saito for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. So yeah, one of our roster members, Big Van Vader, got that title win just before we reintroduced him onto our WCW programming. And it's early days for Vader, but so far he's doing good stuff with us in WCW. And another suggestion that was made by Anthony Johnson was to look at free agents. So let's have a quick look at some of the free agents who are available in America. They are unemployed wrestlers, and I've set it so they must have a star quality. They must have a star quality that is no lower than 65. So looking at some of the younger guys, Booker T. Well, we all know what happened in reality. So Booker T and Stevie Ray is on this list too. Again, two names that if they remain free to us, you can say it's only a matter of time until we would sign them to WCW. They would be a great addition to our tag team roster. And then we have Carl A. We have, the future Quebecer Pierre and PCO. What a great signing he could be. 24 years of age and star quality 66. I'm tempted to sign him right now, because if he has the longevity here in this save that he's had in reality, I mean, even now in reality at the time of recording this, he's still doing great stuff. He's somebody that we could definitely do some great things with in WCW. So you're being shortlisted for sure. And while we're at it, let's shortlist Booker T and let's shortlist Stevie Ray. We have Tiger Mask, and is that the original Tiger Mask? Satoru Sayama? I'm not sure if I believe this is the original Tiger Mask. Let's have a look. Yeah, that would be the original Tiger Mask, Satoru Sayama. Now, he could be a very interesting signing, establishing our light heavyweight division, so I'll shortlist him as well. We have the former Zeus Tiny Lister. I don't think so. Sorry, Moolah, no. Terry Funk, always somebody that we would have a place for. And then I see the future, well, perhaps not in our reality, but in real life, he was the future Glacier, Ray Lloyd. Let's have a look at his credentials. 68 star quality. You can't sniff at that, can you? So he's only 26. He's got some good stuff across the board. Perhaps he will never be Glacier in this alternative timeline, but he might be something. So we'll shortlist him. And then I see guys like Psychosis and Super Crazy, who going forth with our light heavyweight division, yeah, you cannot overlook those guys. So that's just a quick look at some of the free agents there. And I know it's not an in-depth look. If there is anybody, if you're watching this and there's anybody you want to suggest, by all means do. And we will look into them. This is just as much your save as it is mine. So always feel free to fire your suggestions at me. And as we roll forth, as we get to February, we will definitely have a look at what's going on in promotions like the WWF, for example, and just see who the champions are and see what's going on, who's feuding with who, just to make sure that we are keeping our eyes all across the wrestling world. It's time for our January 22nd edition of the Power Hour, and we've got here at the Indiana Convention Center not one, not two, not three, but four dark matches. So in the first of those matches, the Diamond Stud puts Bill Kazmaier away in 7 minutes 52 with a diamond drop to get the pinfall. Diamond Stud got a 52 performance rating and a 43 segment rating overall. Then we have a tag team match, not a great one at that, terrible one in fact. Johnny B. Bad teams with Too Cold Scorpio to defeat Rip Rogers and Pat Rose. Scorpio puts Pat Rose away with the Scorpio Splash just after the 6 minute mark. And we have a 43 performance rating from Scorpio, and Johnny B. Bad's a little bit better with a 47 rating. So with Too Cold Scorpio, we have introduced him onto TV in a small role as we got an introduction from Brian Pillman. We haven't had him wrestle on TV yet though, and we just want to keep working him in the dark matches right now and testing him out, letting him build experience. We've been primarily teaming in with Brian Pillman, but we are testing other combinations as well, like putting in with Johnny B. Bad. This is what dark matches are for, after all, to just experiment with things and build people up. So Too Cold Scorpio, much like the guy that you're going to see in our next match, he is someone that I want to just take my time developing. No rush to bring him onto TV and feature him when he might not be quite ready yet. So that brings us to our third dark match, and that features Scotty Flamingo. This is only his second dark match for us here in WCW since we've signed him, and it's his first singles match. Not a great one. He defeats Jumping Joey Maggs, finishes him off at the 7 minutes 32 minute mark to get the pinfall, and he has an in-ring performance, Scotty Flamingo does, of 41. So yeah, much as I just said with Too Cold Scorpio, we want to take our time developing Scotty Flamingo, and it's the same with the Lightning Kid, Sean Waltman, who we've only seen one time so far, and a couple of other guys that I've got under contract that I've not used yet. But yeah, we want to take our time. As much as I would like some of these guys to be ready now, because the light heavyweight division would definitely benefit from that, it's best to take the time and do this the right way rather than rush guys onto TV and have them bomb. So yeah, 43 segment rating. And in our final dark match, getting some momentum back after losing the US Tag Team titles, Tracy Smothers gets a victory over the Z-Man. Decent reaction from the crowd, and Tracy Smothers got the pinfall, and he used that oh so greatly named move, the Jawjacker. So if you've noticed that the Z-Man Tom Zenk has not been used in our shows, there's a good reason for that. He's got some powerful enemies behind the scenes. One of them being the American Dream, who is becoming a bit of a nightmare for him behind the scenes, and the other one being Ole Anderson. So with some powerful political players like that rooting against him, I don't know what the future holds for Tom Zenk here in our WCW. But as in all things in life, time is the great revealer of truth. 43 segment rating, and we move on now to our TV portion of proceedings. So with our TV show of Power Hour, we open up with a live edition of the Ross Report, and Jim Ross's guests are the new United States Tag Team Champions Rick and Scott, the Steiner brothers, and they come out to say they are proud to be having Tag Team Gold around their waist once again, and they're going to give the fans Tag Team Champions that they can be proud of, fighting champions. But unfortunately, the positivity and the celebration is crashed when Paulie dangerously leads his Dangerous Alliance duo of the new World Tag Team Champions Arn Anderson and Beautiful Bobby onto the scene, and dangerously says that as important as the United States Tag Team Championships are, the premier tag team titles in WCW are the World Tag Team Championships that are held by the Enforcer and Beautiful Bobby. And dangerously says Jim Ross has a bias, and Jim Ross should have had the Dangerous Alliance duo as his guests tonight on the Ross Report, not the Steiner brothers. Rick and Scott then say that clearly, even though they've won Tag Team Gold, they are starved for attention. Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton are, but if they want the attention of the Steiner brothers, they will give them that attention where it counts. Not here on the microphone, not by talking, but in the ring. And they can have about team for team. And then Scott Steiner says, how about make it championship for championship? And then Paulie Dangerously looks a little bit uncertain at that. He doesn't seem so confident all of a sudden. But Rick and Scott, they sense the vulnerability and they say, no, that's what the people want. There's a lot of fans that have said that WCW doesn't need 2 sets of tag team championships. They just need just one set of tag team champions. So why not give the fans what they want and put it all on the line in one match? And then Anderson and Eaton, they look like they're being goaded into accepting this challenge, but Dangerously gets his men to back off and he says, let's just regroup, let's talk about this behind the scenes. So some seeds have been planted there for a potential tag team unification bout, perhaps. So interesting stuff to see. We'll have to see what comes of that. Segment rating was 72, very good segment. Paulie Dangerously was good with his performance. Bobby Eaton underperformed a bit. Rick and Scott were both superb with improvisation, as was Paulie Dangerously. So crowd got hotter, show off to a strong start. Great stuff all around there. Moving forth, we have a tag team match and we see the Diamond Mine duo of Diamond Dallas Page and for the first time here in this save, Vinny Vegas, and they take on and defeat the team of Arachnaman and Marcus Alexander Bagwell. Decent reaction from the crowd, subpar wrestling, and the victory was attained when Vinny Vegas pinned Arachnaman. And Arachnaman had a decent... In fact, Arachnaman had the best performance in the match of 57. Vinny Vegas with a performance of 40. DDP with a performance of 45. DDP and Vinny Vegas didn't work as a team apparently. Their timing was all over the place. That's interesting. Segment rating 43. And then we see video recorded from earlier in the day that showed a wild brawl that started in the backstage corridor but spilled out into the parking lot. We saw Adams and Austin slamming each other onto tables, throwing traffic cones at one another, boxes, one car windshield got smashed, and these guys were just at each other's throats. Really violent scenes, and the carnage between these two, it only stopped when a whole flight of security had to rush onto the scene. Arena security managed to part both men who were just yelling at each other. These two men want one another's blood. This is a really personal rivalry. It was always going to be the moment Adams stepped onto the scene here in WCW, and the bad blood that was between these two going back before the WCW days is now at a boiling point after what happened at Clash of the Champions 18, where first of all Austin helped cost Adams his match against Larry Zbyszko, and then Adams retaliated by helping Austin lose his bout and his TV championship to Barry Windham. So these two, it took a lot to part them. And after the video played, the commentary team said that both men had been escorted and barred from the arena, and a decision will be made about what to do with Chris Adams and Steve Austin going forth, because this is a personal issue between these two that perhaps WCW can't contain. So interesting to see how things unfold with Adams and Austin. 56 segment rating. Going forth, we have a tag match. The Music Masters managed to regain a bit of momentum after losing to the Fabulous Freebirds at the Clash by defeating the duo that are having a great deal of problems at the moment, Richard Morton and Thomas Rich. And the victory came when Van Hammer beat Morton, got the pin over him, and the bout had decent reaction from the crowd, but terrible wrestling. Alexandra York did some good work at ringside for her men, Richard Morton and Thomas Rich. 44 overall segment rating. And then going forth after the bout, Richard Morton seemed frustrated with Thomas Rich, blaming him for the loss that they had just endured. Rich stayed calm though, and then eventually he managed to seemingly calm Morton down. Rich says that to get over this hump they've been experiencing lately, they need to be united and battle back together. Richard Morton seems to agree, and he accepts the offer of a handshake when it's extended to him by Thomas Rich. A smile then lights up on Richard Morton's face as Thomas Rich suddenly falls to his knees, and it's after being low blowed by Alexandra York, who, unbeknownst to Rich, snuck into the ring behind him. So the turn has happened. Richard Morton then pulled Thomas Rich up to his feet and then backed up into the ropes, only to spring forth and drop Rich down brutally with a driving knee drop bulldog. As Thomas Rich laid knocked out on the canvas, Alexandra York and Richard Morton both smiled wickedly before embracing one another. Alexandra York then called for a microphone to be handed to her from ringside, and she proclaimed, "I have a new direction for 1992, and you're not needed for it, Thomas Rich. Consider this your service termination." So yeah, we knew something had to give with the tensions that were brewing over the last few weeks between the remnants of the York Foundation. And it seems Alexandra York has made her choice, and her choice is Richard Morton, and Thomas Rich is on the outs. And after that attack that he endured, he is now a face, and that face turn was a complete success. Going forth, we have a very high rated match, good wrestling here, as the Great Muta, with his manager Harley Race at his side, defeated Cactus Jack in 13 minutes 49. And this victory did not come to the Great Muta without help. Not only did he have Harley Race there distracting the referee at ringside, but Mr. Hughes appeared on the scene to distract the referee as well. And also, while being distracted by Hughes and Harley Race, Big Van Vader gets into the ring. He appears on the scene and he gets physical, attacking Cactus Jack. And this helps contribute to the Great Muta scoring the victory. So the match got the crowd buzzing, 75 segment rating, lovely stuff. Following the bout, Cactus Jack is being subjected to a 2-on-1 attack by Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes. The Great Muta is there in the ring still, but he's regrouping. He's even though he was victorious, he's regrouping after a very physical match with Cactus Jack. So Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes are the two perpetrators of the attack on Cactus Jack. And I didn't mean to rhyme there. While Cactus Jack is being attacked, he has help arrive in the form of Ron Simmons. That's right, Ron Simmons rushes onto the scene and he evens up the odds for Cactus Jack. Harley Race calls for his men to retreat and save the fight for another day, and Ron Simmons pulls Cactus Jack up to his feet. And it seems now Ron Simmons has repaid the favour of Cactus Jack helping him out the other week. And then after they were successfully teamed with one another and got a victory at the Clash over Vader and Mr. Hughes, it seems Ron Simmons is starting to trust and form a bond with the very unlikely partner, as it would have been just 1 week ago, Cactus Jack. So yeah, the show ends with Ron Simmons and Cactus Jack standing side by side, united, as Harley Race takes it all in from outside the ring, not looking very happy, and Vader and Mr. Hughes are both furious, and the Great Muta stood there looking intimidating as well. So yeah, it seems that this alliance between Ron Simmons and Cactus Jack is going to continue as they are united with the same rivals, and that being Harley Race's clients. So a 63 segment rating there, and overall we have a rating of 66, and that does us for the Power Hour, and we move on to more action. Okay, so it's time for World Championship Wrestling. 3,244 people in the Indiana Convention Center for this one, and they are being treated to 3 pre-show matches. The first of which seeing Vinny Vegas defeating Bill Kazmaier in 7 minutes 54 seconds via pinfall. Decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling. Vinny Vegas had an in-ring performance of 47, while the soon-to-be leaving Bill Kazmaier had an in-ring performance of 40. Vegas and Kazmaier had great chemistry, and it showed in their performance. So we might want to try and get another match out of these two before Bill Kazmaier leaves us. And Diamond Dallas Page did some good work at ringside on behalf of Vinny Vegas. Moving on to our next match, and we had Sky Striker taking on, for the first time we're using him here, new signing of Ultimo Dragon. So this is actually the first time we're using Sky Striker in a match as well. So if you didn't see on a previous video, last week we introduced the character of Sky Striker on a hype video, and it was disastrous. The rating was absolutely disastrous. It was the worst rating we've had for any segment since we've been doing this save. So Sky Striker, as we know, he's very good in the ring as Jerry Lynn, and we've signed Ultimo Dragon because Ultimo Dragon seemed to be a no-brainer. If you're looking for guys to build a light heavyweight division around, which we are, because that is the weak spot here in WCW, Ultimo Dragon, no-brainer to sign. So these are guys that we are going to use on our pre-show bouts and build up and test out, much as we're doing with people like Too Cold Scorpio and Scotty Flamingo and the Lightning Kid as well. So in this one, decent wrestling but non-existent crowd heat. Sky Striker got the victory over Ultimo Dragon via pinfall with a cradle pile driver, and Sky Striker had an in-ring performance of 53. Ultimo Dragon had an in-ring performance of 54. Good stuff there, and as you would expect, a very good initial rating for the luchador gimmick that Ultimo Dragon has debuted here. So these guys, we just need to build their popularities up because we know what they can deliver in the ring. And as far as Sky Striker goes, when it comes to his televised presence, we will keep airing video hype packages for him, but it can only go up after that terrible rating that he got for the initial video last week. And then in our next pre-show bout and our final pre-show bout, it's a tag team match with Diamond Dallas Page teaming with Scotty Flamingo to defeat the duo of Johnny B. Bad and Too Cold Scorpio. The finish came in 7 minutes 53 when DDP pinned Too Cold Scorpio following a diamond cutter. Too Cold Scorpio seemed off his game, unfortunately, in this one. The best in-ring performance of this match was actually Johnny B. Bad. So yeah, moving on to the TV show, and we start out strong with a 75 segment rating, and Jim Ross and his new broadcast partner Jesse the Body Ventura, they welcome the viewing audience to this week's edition of World Championship Wrestling. Jesse tells JR that not only will he be interviewing Flying Brian Pillman during today's show, but he's also going to have the honour of interviewing a man he has a great deal of respect for, the manager of the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, the Total Package Lex Luger. That's right, the man he proclaims as the Great Harley Race. And Jesse Ventura was superb working without a script. And in our first match of the show, it's Barry Windham making the first defence of his newly won World Television title. And he's got great opposition, no pun intended, with the Great Muta. But he defeats the Great Muta in this one in just over 14 minutes following a superplex that leads to the pinfall. And the match was designed so the wrestlers could go out and steal the show. So defence number one in the books of the World Television title for Barry Windham. The match got the crowd buzzing, which we like to see. The Great Muta had the best in-ring performance with a 68. Barry Windham down below that a little with a 62. And we move straight on following the bout as the victorious Barry Windham attempts to return to the backstage area following a post-match celebration. He's confronted by Paul E. Dangerously, who gets right up in his face. Clearly angered by something said to him by Dangerously, Windham grabs him by the throat. It soon becomes apparent that this was a planned distraction from Dangerously, as Barry Windham is quickly jumped from behind by none other than the cruncher Larry Zbyszko. During the attack, Zbyszko smashes the left arm of Barry Windham into one of the steel railings by the entranceway. As Barry Windham falls to the ground, clutching his left arm, Zbyszko adds further suffering by draping the left arm of Windham and placing it between the bars of the steel railing, only to viciously stomp, or should we say crunch, on the arm. as Barry Windham yells out in agony. A team of security rush out onto the scene, but as is often the case in pro wrestling, it's too little too late. And both Larry Sabisco and Paulie Dangerously look on at the squirming, agonised Windham, and they both look very happy with themselves. So, Barry Windham won the TV title from stunning Steve Austin at the Clash, and it seems that rather than Steve Austin, it's Larry Sabisco who's been assigned the task of bringing that championship, the television championship, back to the Dangerous Alliance, perhaps. That's purely speculation. I'm sure we'll get the answers in the shows ahead. But yeah, Larry Sabisco clearly starting something there with Barry Windham. Moving on, we have Flying Brian Pillman. He defeats Steve Armstrong of the Young Pistols via pinfall following an air Pillman at the time of 7 minutes 36. Decent wrestling, but not much in the way of heat. Brian Pillman with an in-ring performance of 66, but Steve Armstrong floundering with an in-ring performance of 35. And following the bout, whoa, look at that segment rating, 88. In a post-match interview with Brian Pillman that's conducted by Jesse the Body Ventura, the Body wastes no time getting under Pillman's skin. Now, I'm not going to try and do a Jesse the Body Ventura impression here. That is not my forte. If I was Killer Cross doing this, then yeah, we know what a great Jesse Ventura impression Killer Cross can do, but you stuck with me, so not going to attempt to do Jesse Ventura's voice. But Jesse Ventura said to Brian Pillman, "You were one of the reasons I wanted to come to WCW. As your talent, Pillman, it's an example of why this promotion is the number one in the 1990s. It's just so unfortunate that you had to go and drop the ball. Yep, you dropped the ball by losing the light heavyweight championship to Jushin Thunder Liger at the end of last year. Jushin Thunder Liger, a talent from another promotion, another country. You not only let yourself and your fans down, you let the WCW down, and you let the United States of America down. And do you know why you're a letdown, Pillman? It's because for all of your talent, you're too nice. You don't have the killer edge." So these words, Brian Pillman tried to play it cool. He tried to laugh it off, but you could tell as Ventura went on, Pillman was being rattled by what was being said, and some of these words of the Body were hitting a little bit too close to home. So Brian Pillman did respond. He said, "Do not underestimate me, and do not underestimate what you're awakening in me and what I already know." And Brian Pillman, he got a little bit angsty, he got a bit tongue-tied, but he actually left the interview area. He went backstage. He kind of put the brakes on himself. He didn't want to get baited into giving that much of a response. But from what we've heard from Brian Pillman on shows in the weeks prior to this, we know that he knows that he needs to bring something extra the next time he meets Jushin Thunder Liger. So whether these words from Jesse Ventura were needed or not, Brian Pillman is clearly aware, and he's clearly beating himself up a bit as well over he's going over his last time meeting with Jushin Liger. He's looking at what he lacked, so perhaps he already knows what Jesse Ventura has just been telling him. So the Brian Pillman Jushin Thunder Liger storyline has advanced and gained heat, and Jesse Ventura and Brian Pillman both came across really well in this. They were both unscripted, and I trusted they would deliver the goods, and they did. And we got an 88 segment rating because of it. Good stuff. Moving on, our final match of the show, and it is tag team action. Harley Race's dangerous duo of Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes. Decent action. They defeat Big Josh and Dustin Rhodes in 11 minutes 56 when Big Van Vader scored the pin after a Vader bomb at the expense of Big Josh. We kept the natural Dustin Rhodes strong in this one, despite being on the losing team. And we're still getting that note that Jim Ross and Jesse Ventura are an awkward pairing together on commentary. So we might have to look into changing something here early on with the commentary duo of World Championship Wrestling. Try Jesse Ventura with somebody else, perhaps. Looking at the performance ratings, Big Van Vader was the standout with a 69 performance. Dustin Rhodes doing alright as well with a 57. Moving on, 72 segment rating to close the show. Jesse the Body Ventura interviews Harley Race, who is backed up by his intimidating duo of Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes. Ventura tells Harley Race that he admires just how he masterminded the appearance of the World Heavyweight Champion, the Total Package Lex Luger, at the conclusion of the clash. So it was the image of the Total Package standing triumphant over Sting as the final thing, the lasting image that anyone saw of the clash. And Ventura says that with a mastermind like Harley Race calling the plays, he knows that the World Championship won't be leaving the waist of the Total Package Lex Luger anytime soon, as Sting just can't match the Total Package physically or mentally. Harley Race smiles and he thanks Ventura for the support, and then he goes on to discuss, firstly, before he moves on to Lex Luger, he wants to discuss Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes, and he calls these two big men standing behind him, he calls them Race's regulators, and he says whether it's individually or collectively, Ron Simmons and Cactus Jack, they're going to keep finding the same result every time they try to step up to Vader and Hughes. And then he moves on to talk about the Total Package Lex Luger. And he says, Jesse Ventura, what you've just said, it's absolutely spot on. And Lex Luger is a big time mover, a big time player, and he is here nowadays for the money moments and the money matches and delivering the goods in those money moments and money matches. And what he did at the Clash, that was a money moment. And when the money match comes with Sting, and it is coming at Super Brawl 2, he is going to let his actions do the talking. And his actions will see that the World Heavyweight Championship stays exactly where it currently resides, around the waist of the Total Package. Because the Total Package, he is not only the big money player, the big money moment mover, he is the ultimate power player. And this collective of talent that Harley Race surrounds himself with, from men like Big Van Vader, the mighty Mr. Hughes, and the Total Package Lex Luger, they are the ultimate power play in professional wrestling. And Harley Race says, what matters is what's at the top of the mountain. And the top of the mountain is the World Heavyweight Championship. And as long as it stays around the waist of Lex Luger, a man he manages, that makes him the ultimate power player in all of professional wrestling. We have an overall rating of 61. Unfortunately, a popularity loss in 8 regions, not what we wanted there. So, segments delivered, but some of the matches could have been better on that show for sure. So something we need to work on there, definitely going forth. We'll be back for episode 7, and thank you once again for watching. See you on the next one. Alrighty, so I was going to bring this video to a close, but upon returning to the main screen after our World Championship Wrestling episode, got this interesting news story. So Sting is being loaned out to Eastern Championship Wrestling, who of course we are in the same partnership with. We're both in the National Wrestling Alliance, WCW, and the very new Eastern Championship Wrestling. So Sting is being loaned out to ECW for one night. So not sure when this will be happening. If they're running a show a month, it'll probably be February, but definitely when that happens, I will show you how Eastern Championship Wrestling used the Stinger on his one night appearance. Talk about a really diverging timeline here, because that is something that is very different than reality for sure. That's what makes TEW so wonderful, things like this. So I just hope Sting is in safe hands and he's not going to be losing to someone like, I don't know, Crybaby Waldo or Jimmy Janetti on his appearance. So I watch with great interest to see how Sting will be used by Eastern Championship Wrestling. So yeah, an interesting little ending there. We started the episode looking at ECW as one of our partner promotions, and we end with that story. So funny how things work out. So I will see you on the next one. Have a good one.